Before we do that, one other question, John, here in our opening segment that I got to get to. Yesterday, a massive trade happened in the NFL. A wide receiver, Jaylen Waddle, was traded from the Dolphins to the Broncos. A first-round pick was exchanged, and additional compensation kind of was almost came down to about a 1 and a 3 for Miami in return for Jaylen Waddle. Now, I saw many, John, talk about, well, this shows you what A.J. Brown is worth, and I understand that thought process, but John, I wasn't a great student, but one class I aced was economics, micro and macro, my friend. All right. Supply and demand here, J-Mac. I don't see many teams left that are going to be willing to pay the price for AJ at the age he's at, to give up the draft capital. I mean, I'm sure a lot of teams out there want great receivers, but how many are positioned to actually acquire a receiver like AJ at this point in his career? I think that number continues to dwindle, and the more
I think it's one.
Yeah, it's one. That's what I mean. And if it's one, then guess what? They have leverage. So I don't necessarily see it like some other people do, where because Jaylen Waddle got a 1 and a 3, that AJ Brown is now worth more. I think AJ Brown's a better player than Jaylen Waddle, but I don't necessarily believe that means the Eagles are going to get that. Do you agree with me, or do you think this does show that AJ should be getting, significant draft compensation?
No, I think anybody who's listened to the show, one of the it's really difficult. And I get it. It's really difficult to explain things versus just take the low hanging fruit. So I think everybody is just, in more than anything else, I don't even think it's grifting. I don't even think they're doing it purposefully. I just think, that's the way people think about things. And this is what I always bring up with Howie Roseman, frustrates Howie, to no end. It's like, everything's in a vacuum. How many times have you heard me say that? Everything's in a vacuum. Well, why did you trade C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Kenyon Green? Everything's in a vacuum. It's like, it had nothing to do, the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade with Kenyon Green. That blows people's minds. It had nothing to do with. In this case, what Denver doesn't have any relative impact on what is happening with AJ Brown, other than, sports talk. Well, he got a first round pick and AJ's better than just, so he should get this. Well, to your point about supply and demand, that the way to generate significant, get back for any player is to have multiple teams bidding. That's how you do it.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying there's not dumb teams, and I don't know how many people are breaking down Miami's door for Jaylen Waddle, and maybe Denver bid against themselves a little bit. Whatever. That's their mistake. That doesn't mean somebody else has to make the same mistake. If you even consider it a mistake for them, obviously they don't. But they're looking for a specific receiver to open up things for Cortland Sutton, similar to a higher end version of what Nick Sirianni talks about, clearing space for AJ and Devontae. But no, you're right. I mean, it's about supply and demand. And the whole point of this exercise has been trying to get multiple suitors to drive up the price. It's the only way you're driving up the price. New England, it's going to be what it's going to be. It's going to be the 31st pick in the draft. And from that standpoint, I would think the Eagles would want to go to 2027 because they value future picks more than most teams, because guess what? New England's not that good. They're not going back to the Super Bowl, even with A.J. Brown.
I agree.
In my opinion. So next year's pick, 20, will be better than this year's pick. And then you figure out the rest of the compensation, probably third round. Maybe you swap third and fourth round picks. You do draft positioning type of things. But no, you're 100% right. It's not about what Jaylen Waddle got. It's about, do you have multiple suitors That's how you drive up, you go to one team. If the Rams were involved, you say, look, they offered us a 1 and a 3. What can you do?
Right. Same concept as Drew Rosenhaus getting $30 million for Jalen Phillips, right? Hey, I got one guy giving me 28. All right, they're going to give me 29, and then ultimately end up on $30 million with $80 million guaranteed.
Now, certainly agents will use it as a framing, usage, but again, you don't have to bite because somebody else, like Jalen Phillips, you can go in and say, Jonathan Grenard, let's say Jonathan Grenard who wants an extension. Well, you can say, I've been more productive. I want 31 million. Well, you can ask for it. Doesn't mean there's another team out there that's going to go down the route of Carolina. So, yeah, people get way too caught up on comping different situations, which are never the same. So why you comp things that are not the same? People have been indoctrinated to do it. That's why they do it.
Well, fair enough. We'll see what ends up happening with it, Johnny Mac. I agree with you. What did you make of the fact? I think I saw a report yesterday. I think it was maybe Diana Rossini who said they didn't even call about AJ Brown, Denver. I mean, they were willing to trade a first-round pick for a wide receiver, and apparently they didn't even check in on AJ Brown. Did you take anything away from that?
No, I had heard they checked in, but nothing got serious. I don't know what Diana said, but they were one of the teams that. But I mean, it could be just like Howie checks into, gauge the market. Nothing ever got serious. And the only, I'm surprised the Rams thing surprised me, because I just don't think that Howie would trade him in the NFC, especially to a good team.
Here's what Diana said, just to give you it. She says, despite speculation, I'm told the Denver Broncos never showed interest in trading for AJ Brown. So that doesn't mean they didn't call. Maybe not. Maybe not that interested.
Yeah. Well, I think that's fair. I don't think they ever showed significant interest. They remember who they have, which by the way, I explained on yesterday's show. They have Cortland Sutton.
Right.
It's redundant.
Exactly.
They need a different style of receiver. Unless you're flipping AJ for Cortland Sutton and other, obviously other things, you're not gonna pair AJ Brown with Cortland Sutton.
Two bigger body contested. That's not what you want.
Yeah. So to me, that explains it. So I think that's fair the way she framed it. No real interest. And yeah, I mean, Baltimore, a little bit of it. By the way, Hollywood Brown was going to go back to Baltimore, chose the Eagles over Baltimore. That he also said that on Acho's podcast. So
nice.
But yeah, right now it's like one team, and can that generate? Sure, it can regenerate. Especially after the draft.
Right. That's kind of what Tea Time here says in the Super Chat. He says, right now it's the Patriots, but it's still early. After the draft or later in the free agency, more teams can become available.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the guy, when people draft players, they get super excited.